Dear esteemed audience, today we are honored to present a tale of resilience, betrayal, and the unyielding search for truth. Before we delve into the heart of the unveiling truth, please consider subscribing to our channel and hitting that notification bell. We invite you to listen as destiny unfolds. The sky wept that night, a relentless, icy torrent mirroring the storm raging within Isabella, Bella Rossi. Each raindrop felt like a tiny frozen shard piercing her tattered hopes, an echo of the Thorne family's chilling pronouncement just moments before. Dispossessed, disgraced, and utterly broken, Bella clutched her infant daughter, Lily, tighter against her chest. The thin blanket, now soaked and clinging, offered little comfort against the biting wind that whipped through the grand iron gates of the Thorne estate, gates that had once promised her a future, now slammed shut like a final, damning verdict. Get out, and don't ever dare return. Julian Thorne's father, Mr. Thorne, a man whose eyes were usually cold, now burned with a righteous fury fueled by Serena Vance's insidious lies. This is not a Thorne. This child is an abomination, a stain on our name, just like her disreputable mother. His words, sharp as broken glass, sliced through Bella's soul, leaving her bleeding from wounds no bandage could mend. Julian, the man who had sworn eternal love, the father of her child, stood frozen, his face a mask of conflict, yet uttering no defense. Serena, draped in a silk gown that seemed to mock Bella's soaked rags, offered a saccharine, triumphant smirk, a viper's smile that promised more venom to come. Bella, stripped of everything, clung only to Lily's warmth, a fragile ember in the vast, engulfing darkness. With nowhere left to turn, Bella instinctively sought the familiar, the distant comfort of her childhood home. But that sanctuary, too, turned into a battlefield of cutting words. Her own family, ashamed and burdened by her unwed motherhood, greeted her not with solace, but with condemnation. You brought this upon yourself. Isabella, a burden. That's what you are, a shame upon her doorstep. Her mother's voice, usually a balm, was now a whip, each word lashing at her raw nerves. The door, like the Thorne's gates, closed on her, leaving her isolated in the echoing void of her despair. The city lights blurred through her tears as Bella stumbled onto the slick pavement, the cacophony of the urban sprawl fading into a dull roar. Lily, sensing her mother's anguish, let out a tiny whimpering cry that pierced her addled mind, reminding her of the precious life she held. Lost in the swirling chaos of her grief and exhaustion, Bella drifted into the street, a ghost in the rain, oblivious to the roaring engine bearing down on her. Suddenly, a blinding flash of headlights sliced through the gloom, followed by the agonizing shriek of tires fighting for purchase on the wet asphalt. A dark sedan, a sleek, powerful machine, skidded violently, its tires emitting a guttural protest as it veered sharply. Mark Jones, at the wheel, had seen the shadow of a woman and child too late. In a split second, he yanked the steering wheel, his muscles straining, desperate to avoid catastrophe. The car, responding with a violent lurch, slammed with a jarring thud into a utility pole on the side of the road. The impact, though not catastrophic for the vehicle, sent a jolt through Mark, and he felt a sharp, searing pain shoot up his right arm as he instinctively braced himself. Bella, jolted back to cruel reality by the near miss and the sickening crunch of metal, spun around, her heart leaping into her throat. She saw the crumpled front fender, the smoking hood, and Marcus, grimacing, clutching his arm inside the damaged vehicle. A wave of overwhelming guilt washed over her, chilling her more profoundly than the rain. She had almost taken 2 lives, all because of her despair. A desperate, primal urge to atone, to make amends, surged through her. Stumbling towards the car, Bella reached for the door handle. "Are you all right? Oh my God, I am so sorry. I didn't see you. Please, let me help you." Her voice was a ragged whisper, choked with tears and self-reproach. Mark, a man in his late 20s, with kind, intelligent eyes that held a hint of quiet strength, pushed open the door. He was well-dressed, his suit now slightly askew, but it was his eyes that held Bella captive, not with anger, but with a deep, unsettling compassion. "I'm fine," he managed, though a wince betrayed the throbbing pain in his arm.
He looked from Bella's soaked, shivering form to the tiny bundled infant she held so protectively. The sight of their utter vulnerability, framed by the unforgiving night, struck a chord deep within him. It was a stark contrast to his own carefully constructed world of burgeoning success. He saw not a careless pedestrian, but a soul adrift, clinging to the last vestiges of hope. "You're soaked to the bone," Mark said, his voice surprisingly gentle, his initial irritation replaced by a profound empathy. He noticed her threadbare clothes, the dark circles under her eyes, the way she clutched the baby as if it were the only thing grounding her to existence. He made a snap decision, one born of an instinct he rarely indulged. "Come on, my arm can wait. You and the baby need to get out of this rain." He gestured vaguely to a nearby motel sign, an unlikely beacon in the urban gloom. Bella hesitated, her eyes wide with disbelief and a flicker of deep suspicion. Kindness was a foreign language to her now, but the sheer exhaustion, Lily's soft shivers, and the raw guilt of causing his injury pushed her forward. She nodded, a silent, desperate acceptance. As Mark carefully extracted his phone to call for assistance with his car, Bella caught a glimpse of his face in the dim light. A sharp jawline, close-cropped hair, and eyes that, despite the pain, held an unwavering resolve. He was a man of quiet determination, a stark contrast to the volatile charm of Julian or the venomous superficiality of Serena. Unbeknownst to Bella, Julian Thorne, restless in his opulent bed, had received a fragmented text about a minor incident involving a car and a pedestrian near the Thorne Tower. He dismissed it quickly, a fleeting thought dismissed by Serena, who was whispering sweet nothings, subtly reinforcing his skewed perception of Bella. "It's probably just that dramatic girl seeking attention," Serena purred, her words poison disguised as honey, effectively extinguishing Julian's fleeting, unconscious flicker of concern. This dismissal, born of Serena's subtle manipulation, was a tiny, almost imperceptible seed of regret that would fester and grow within him. As Mark limped slightly, leading Bella and Lily towards the motel, a profound sense of indebtedness settled over Bella. She didn't know this man, yet he had saved her from the street, perhaps even saved Lily from the bitter cold, and even had been injured in the process. The contrast between his unexpected compassion and the cold ruthlessness of her own family and Julian's loomed large, a stark reminder of the unpredictable turns of life. She knew, deep in her heart, that she owed him, and that debt would become an unseen thread weaving their destinies together. The rain, though still falling, no longer felt as cold, now imbued with the warmth of a stranger's unexpected kindness, hinting at a fragile dawn after the longest night. The sterile walls of the modest motel room offered little solace. Yet for Bella, they represented an improbable sanctuary, a fragile barrier against the storm outside and within. Lily, nestled safely in the crib Mark had somehow conjured from the depths of the motel's limited offerings, slept soundly, her tiny chest rising and falling in rhythmic peace, a stark contrast to the tumultuous waves still crashing against Bella's soul. The simple act of providing shelter, of tending to Mark's slightly bruised arm with the first aid kit he insisted on getting from his car, had been a balm. As she dabbed antiseptic onto his scraped forearm, Bella felt a strange shift within her, a tiny seed of something akin to hope, sprouting in the barren landscape of her despair. "Thank you," she murmured, her voice raw, barely audible. "For everything? For not hitting us?" Mark offered a small, weary smile. "Anyone would have done the same. And you look like you've been through hell." His gaze, steady and perceptive, saw beyond her physical exhaustion, piercing through the layers of pain and humiliation she carried. He didn't pry, didn't ask questions that would force her to relive the recent agony. Instead, he simply offered a quiet presence, a silent testament to basic human decency, a quality that felt rarer than gold in her shattered world. Over the next few days, Mark became Bella's anchor in a sea of uncertainty. He helped her navigate the immediate aftermath, dealing with the damaged car, finding a slightly more permanent, though still humble, apartment away from the Thorne estate's long shadow. He brought Lily small, thoughtful gifts, a soft, plush bunny, a bright rattle, things that brought genuine smiles to her infant daughter's face, smiles Bella hadn't seen in weeks. Each gesture was a brushstroke, painting warmth back into Bella's gray existence. She discovered that Mark was a man of quiet determination, his days filled with meticulously planned ventures and late-night calls. He was building something, though she wasn't sure what, and his focus was almost monastic. Bella, driven by an overwhelming need to repay his kindness and to build a life for Lily, threw herself into finding work. The city was a maze of closed doors and suspicious glances for a young, unwed mother with no current address or references. Yet her quiet resilience shone through. She took on cleaning jobs, waited tables in dingy diners, her hands calloused but her spirit unyielding. There was a fierce primal strength that had awakened within her, born from the raw vulnerability of Lily's existence. Every penny earned was for Lily. Every ounce of strength was for their future. Mark, witnessing her tireless efforts, found his respect for her deepen with each passing day. He saw not a victim, but a survivor. Their bond deepened not through grand gestures, but through shared silence, quiet understanding, and the comforting rhythm of everyday life. Mark would often come home to the smell of a simple, home-cooked meal Bella had prepared, a stark contrast to his usual takeaway. He'd find her humming lullabies to Lily, her voice soft and melodious, and a quiet sense of peace would settle over him. Bella, in turn, found solace in Mark's calm demeanor, his unwavering support. He was a steady hand, a safe harbor. A subtle tenderness began to bloom between them, a fragile blossom nurtured by shared hardship and unspoken admiration. It was a feeling as organic as the gentle unfurling of a new leaf, growing from the rich soil of their unconventional beginning.
Meanwhile, far across the ocean, Evelyn Hayes, Mark's former girlfriend, simmered in a potent brew of resentment and financial desperation. Her research fellowship had been a thinly veiled excuse for a series of ill-advised investments and reckless spending that had plunged her deep into debt. She had ghosted Mark months ago, convinced that he was just another struggling entrepreneur, not worth her time or attention. But social media, that cruel mirror of distant lives, had begun to whisper tales of Mark's burgeoning success. Photos of his gleaming new office, articles hinting at his innovative tech startup, Quantum Leap Solutions, a name she scoffed at previously, slowly trickled onto her feed. The initial disbelief morphed into a bitter envy, then a calculated resolve. Mark, her Mark, was becoming a millionaire without her. The thought gnawed at her, a venomous parasite feeding on her ambition and greed. She saw his newfound wealth as her rightful escape from the financial abyss she dug for herself. Her calls and messages, once sporadic, became persistent, desperate attempts to reestablish contact. She spun tales of longing, of regretting her absence, meticulously crafting a facade of contrition. Her ultimate goal wasn't just to rekindle their romance, it was to siphon off his wealth, a lifeline for her drowning future. Back in the Thorne Empire, a subtle tremor began to ripple through the opulent halls. Catherine Thorne, Julian's mother, a woman of sharp intellect, hidden beneath a veneer of aristocratic reserve, had grown increasingly uneasy. Serena's influence over Julian was absolute, a suffocating blanket that seemed to smother his very spirit. Catherine had always prided herself on her family's impeccable reputation, and Serena's sudden aggressive push for more control, her hushed phone calls, and her almost predatory interest in the company's older financial records set off alarm bells within her. One evening, Catherine stumbled upon Julian poring over old ledgers, his face etched with a fear she hadn't seen since his childhood. He quickly hid the documents, but the glimpse she caught, faded papers with unfamiliar company names and suspiciously large figures, ignited a cold dread. She remembered Serena's usually close relationship with the former, disgraced financial advisor who had been dismissed years ago for questionable practices. A chilling suspicion began to form. Was Serena merely a gold digger or something far more sinister? Could she be holding something over Julian, something tied to the family's past? Nutshell. Catherine, driven by a protective instinct for her son and the family's legacy, began her own discreet investigation, starting with a disgraced financial advisor. She felt the heavy hand of a hidden burden on Julian, a stark contrast to his usual confident swagger. Meanwhile, Ethan Wright, Serena's former lover, was quietly making strides in his own investigation. His research fellowship had indeed been legitimate, but a gnawing sense of betrayal over Serena's abrupt departure had spurred him to delve deeper into her past. Ethan was a brilliant but socially awkward data analyst with a knack for uncovering hidden patterns. He had always found Serena's charm a little too perfect, her ambition a little too ruthless. His meticulous tracking of her digital footprints, cross-referencing public records with private conversations he'd salvaged, was yielding disturbing results. He discovered a meticulously planned web of connections, a network of individuals with dubious reputations, all linked to Serena's seemingly innocent life.
He found evidence of shell corporations, offshore accounts, and carefully crafted legal loopholes that screamed of illicit dealings. The most damning discovery was a series of encrypted messages between Serena and the very same disgraced financial advisor Catherine was now investigating. Messages that clearly detailed a long-term blackmail scheme targeting Julian and the Thorne family, threatening to expose a massive financial fraud from years ago. This wasn't just about Serena wanting money. It was about her seizing power, dismantling the Thorne empire from within, piece by calculated piece. Ethan felt a grim satisfaction, mixed with the chilling realization. Serena was far more dangerous than anyone imagined. He knew he had to find the right person to share this information with, someone who could truly use it to fight back. As the weeks bled into months, Mark's business, fueled by his unwavering dedication and a touch of innovative genius, began to flourish. Quantum Leap Solutions, once a mere concept, was now securing significant contracts, its name whispered with growing respect in tech circles. The modest apartment Bella and Mark shared felt less like a temporary stop and more like a home. Their connection deepened into a quiet, profound love, built not on grand pronouncements, but on shared resilience, mutual respect, and the unconditional affection they both showered on Lily. Bella, finding strength in their blossoming bond, felt a happiness she thought forever lost. Yet, even in this burgeoning peace, shadows stirred. Evelyn's calls became more frequent, her tone increasingly demanding and possessive. "Mark, darling, I'm back in the city. We need to talk. About us. About our future." Her saccharine voice, dripping with false nostalgia, was a jarring intrusion. Bella, hearing these calls, felt a pang of insecurity, a lingering fear that Mark might still harbor feelings for his past. She saw the elegant photos Evelyn posted online, a life of luxury and effortless charm, a stark contrast to her own still humble beginnings. One evening, Evelyn, having tracked Mark down through his rapidly rising public profile, appeared unannounced at their apartment building. She was impeccably dressed, radiating an aura of sophisticated allure, a stark contrast to Bella's quiet simplicity. "Mark, my love." Evelyn's voice, perfectly modulated, cut through the quiet hum of their apartment. She swept past the surprised doorman, finding Mark just as he was about to leave for a late meeting.
Her eyes, however, immediately landed on Bella, who was standing in the doorway, Lily peeking from behind her leg. A flicker of icy disdain, barely perceptible, crossed Evelyn's face before it was replaced by a wide, dazzling smile meant for Mark. "Who is this, darling?" Evelyn purred, her gaze raking over Bella, a silent declaration of ownership directed at Mark. "And is that a child?" "Mark, what is going on here?" Her voice, though superficially sweet, carried an unexpected edge of possessiveness and judgment. The atmosphere in the hallway, once mundane, crackled with unspoken tension, setting the stage for a confrontation that threatened to shatter the fragile peace Bella had so painstakingly built. This unexpected arrival, a ghost of Mark's past, introduced a new layer of conflict, threatening to unravel the tender threads of love and trust that had just begun to weave Bella's broken life back together.
The air in the apartment hallway, minutes after Evelyn Hayes' unannounced arrival, still hummed with an unspoken tension, thick and acrid as a summer storm. Bella felt a cold dread trickle down her spine, a familiar chill from the days when Julian's world had been invaded by Serena's calculated charm. Evelyn's predatory gaze, a thinly veiled appraisal of Bella's modest attire and the unassuming apartment, was a declaration of war. "Darling, you haven't introduced me," Evelyn purred, her voice sweet as poisoned honey, yet her eyes were a frozen lake. She extended a manicured hand adorned with glittering diamonds that seemed to mock Bella's calloused fingers. "Evelyn Hayes. And you are—" Bella met her gaze steadily, a newfound steel in her eyes that had been forged in the fires of betrayal. "Isabella Rossi. And this is Lily." She gestured to the baby, instinctively shielding her. Lily, sensing the shift in the atmosphere, whimpered softly, pressing closer to Bella's leg. Mark, recovering from his initial shock, stepped forward, his posture a solid wall between the two women. "Evelyn, what are you doing here? And please, there's no darling. We broke up months ago." His voice was firm, devoid of the warmth Evelyn clearly expected. Evelyn's smile faltered, a hairline crack appearing in her perfect facade. "Oh, Mark, don't be silly. You know we always had something special. And you've done so well for yourself. I heard about Quantum Leap Solutions. Simply brilliant." Her gaze darted from Mark's face to the subtle signs of his growing success, the confident set of his shoulders, the quiet authority in his voice. She'd underestimated him before, and she wouldn't make that mistake again. "I just got back, and I wanted to reconnect, catch up. You know, old times." Her words were a silky invitation, a siren song designed to lure Mark back into her orbit. Bella watched the exchange, a knot tightening in her stomach. Mark's loyalty to her was unwavering, yet Evelyn's presence, with her polished allure and audacious confidence, felt like a direct threat. It was a stark contrast to Bella's own quiet strength, a comparison she feared losing. She sensed Evelyn's true motive wasn't love, but something far more predatory, a hunger she recognized from Serena. Meanwhile, in the gilded cage of the Thorne estate, Serena Vance was tightening her grip, a venomous vine strangling the family's legacy. The initial awe and trust of Julian Thorne had curdled into a desperate fear. Serena no longer bothered with pretense. Her charm had morphed into outright command. "Julian, darling, those quarterly reports are due, and I need access to the offshore accounts. No questions, just compliance." Her voice, once soft and alluring, was now a whip, each syllable cracking with insidious power. The truth was far more insidious than simple gold digging. Serena wasn't merely siphoning money, she was strategically dismantling the Thorne empire from within, piece by calculated piece. She had discovered the truth about a massive financial fraud from 20 years ago,
a deeply buried secret involving Mr. Thorne and a powerful consortium. Serena's former lover, Ethan Wright, a ghost of her past, was the unwitting key to unlocking this very secret. Ethan, with his unparalleled tech skills, had unknowingly helped Serena access encrypted servers during their brief, intense relationship. She had played him, a master manipulator, using his brilliance for her own dark designs. Now, with the raw data in her hands, she held the Thorne family's reputation, their fortune, and even their freedom hostage. Julian, trapped in Serena's web, felt the walls closing in. The carefree life he once lived had become a suffocating prison. His attempts to subtly push back were met with chilling threats. "Dare to cross me, Julian, and not only will your family's empire crumble, but your father will rot in prison. And imagine what that would do to your precious image, the golden boy of the Thorns." Her words were a constant echo in his mind, paralyzing him. He hated her, hated himself more for being so easily duped, for sacrificing Bella and Lily at the altar of his family's corrupt past. He started drinking heavily, the once vibrant Julian now a shadow of his former self.
Catherine Thorne, witnessing Julian's rapid descent and Serena's increasing dominion, felt her mother's intuition scream. She had begun her own quiet investigation, cross-referencing dates, names, and old news articles. Her instincts led her to the disgraced financial advisor Serena had been so chummy with. She found his former secretary, now a timid elderly woman who, after much gentle persuasion and a considerable financial incentive from Catherine, tearfully confessed the truth. The advisor had indeed helped orchestrate the fraudulent scheme for Mr. Thorne years ago, and Serena had recently contacted him, subtly coercing him for details. The confession was a cold dagger through Catherine's heart, but it also armed her with terrifying clarity. Simultaneously, Ethan Wright, driven by a thirst for justice and a subtle desire to cleanse himself of the toxic stain of Serena, had made a breakthrough. He hadn't just found evidence of Serena's current blackmail. He had uncovered the full, intricate scope of the Thorne family's long-buried financial fraud. His meticulous data analysis revealed a network of shell companies, illegal offshore accounts, and falsified ledgers, a web so complex it could only have been orchestrated by someone with intimate knowledge of the Thornes' operations. He also found encrypted messages between Serena and the disgraced financial advisor, confirming her role as the orchestrator of this modern-day extortion. Ethan realized the depth of Serena's evil was far beyond what he initially imagined. He needed an ally, someone untainted by the Thorne family's dark legacy, someone who would truly care about justice. His search for Bella intensified. He tracked her through the scattered crumbs of public information, eventually finding connections to Mark's rapidly expanding company, Quantum Leap Solutions. The irony wasn't lost on him. The very girl Julian had cast aside was now entwined with a rising star, a man whose wealth was built on genuine innovation. Back in Bella and Mark's world, Evelyn's presence became a daily torment. She left expensive gifts for Mark, sent passive-aggressive texts to Bella, and even started, accidentally, running into Mark at his new, sleek office building. She was a master of subtle sabotage, planting seeds of doubt in Bella's mind. "He's a Thorne now, Bella," she whispered, her voice dripping with false concern. "A real catch. Do you really think someone like him will stick around when the newness of your situation wears off? He's used to women like me, darling. Women who can match his ambition, his lifestyle." Her words, like tiny needles, pricked up Bella's still fragile confidence, remnants of the deep insecurities sown by Julian's betrayal. One day, Evelyn took a bolder step. She approached Mark at a public business event, draped herself over him, and staged a highly public theatrical kiss, knowing full well it would be captured by event photographers. The next day, a photo of the reunited couple splashed across a local society page, a cruel distortion of reality. Bella saw the photo. Her heart, once soaring, plummeted to her stomach.
She knew Mark loved her, knew it was a staged event. Yet the public humiliation, the stark contrast between Evelyn's glamorous world and her own quiet existence, stirred old demons. "Mark," she began one evening, her voice trembling, Is there something I should know about Evelyn? About your past?"
Mark, sensing her insecurity, pulled her into a tight embrace. "Bella, look at me. There is nothing, absolutely nothing. She's a ghost from a past I've moved on from. You and Lily are my present, my future. Don't let her poisonous words touch you." His sincerity was a balm, but a wound, though small, had been made. Nutshell: Evelyn's relentless campaign, coupled with the increasing pressure on Mark's booming business, created a fissure in Bella's confidence. She saw herself as a potential burden, a stark contrast to Evelyn's effortless allure, pushing her into a state of emotional vulnerability. The tension reached a boiling point when Mark received a series of anonymous threats, cryptic messages hinting at sabotaged projects and leaked proprietary information. He knew it was Evelyn, her desperation turning into recklessness. He confronted her, his voice cold with fury. "Evelyn, this has to stop. Now. You're playing a dangerous game." Evelyn's composure finally snapped, her mask of sophisticated charm shattered, revealing a snarling, desperate woman. "Dangerous? You think I'm dangerous? You abandoned me. You let me drown in my own mess while you got rich? This isn't about you, Mark. This is about me getting what I deserve." Her voice escalated, shrill and venomous. She confessed her financial woes, her desperation, exposing the true, bitter motivation behind her return. Just as the argument reached its fever pitch, Mark received an urgent encrypted email from Ethan Wright. The subject line was stark: "Urgent, Thorne family, Serena Vance, and your future." The email contained irrefutable proof of Serena's blackmail, the deep-seated fraud within the Thorne Corporation, and a stark warning about Serena's escalating desperation. Ethan also revealed his knowledge of Evelyn's financial troubles and hinted at her potential unwitting role in some of Serena's peripheral schemes, a small, insignificant cog in Serena's grander, more sinister machine. The world, Mark realized, was far more interconnected and far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. The threads of his life, Bella's life, and even Julian's were all intertangled in a Gordian knot of deceit and desperation, waiting for a final, violent unraveling. The stage was set for a confrontation far greater than any of them could anticipate. The air vibrated with an unspoken promise of new beginnings. Wedding preparations for Bella and Mark were in full swing, a symphony of joy and anticipation. Bella, in her simple white dress, looked radiant, her eyes holding a depth of happiness that had once seemed impossible. Lily, now a vivacious toddler, chased butterflies in the sun-dappled park, her laughter a melodious chime that resonated with Mark and Bella's hearts. Yet, beneath the surface of this newfound bliss, the currents of deception and desperation churned. Meanwhile, in the gilded prison of his estate, Julian Thorne spiraled. The whispers from his mother Catherine about Serena's true nature, combined with the fragmented anonymous messages he'd received, gnawed at him. He couldn't shake the image of Bella and the child from that rainy night. A seed of doubt, planted months ago, had finally blossomed into a terrifying certainty. He had to know. Driven by a desperate, almost primal need, Julian secretly arranged for a DNA test using a discarded item of Lily's. The days of waiting were an agonizing purgatory, each passing hour a slow torture.
The results arrived on the morning of Bella's wedding. Julian tore open the envelope, his hands trembling. The words on the page blurred, then snapped into chilling focus. 99.9% probability of paternity. A cold, hard truth slammed into him, a physical blow that stole his breath. Lily was his daughter, the child he had so cruelly, so publicly denied. The world spun. The years of Serena's lies, the family's dismissiveness, his own blind arrogance, it all coalesced into a tidal wave of gut-wrenching regret and searing anger. He had been a fool, a puppet. At the exact same moment, miles away, Ethan Wright made his move. He had compiled a dossier of irrefutable evidence against Serena Vance, encrypted messages detailing the Thorne financial fraud, bank statements revealing illicit transfers, and damning testimonies from disgruntled former associates. Knowing the wedding day would be chaotic, a perfect storm for exposure, Ethan leaked his findings to a prominent investigative journalist known for unflinching exposés. The story broke like thunder, a front-page headline that screamed of Thorne family financial scandal and extortion plot. The carefully constructed facade of the Thorne empire crumbled, revealing its rotting core. Serena Vance was unequivocally identified as the mastermind behind the blackmail, her intricate web of deceit laid bare for the world to see. News of the scandal, blazing across every major network and online platform, reached the Thorne estate with the force of a hurricane. Mr. Thorne, Julian's father, a man whose life had been built on reputation and control, suffered a near-fatal heart attack, collapsing in his study as the news anchor detailed their decades-old fraud. The once impenetrable walls of their wealth began to crack, threatening to shatter their entire legacy. Serena Vance, seeing her meticulously crafted empire of lies unraveling, reacted with the cunning of a cornered viper. Her face, usually a mask of calm calculation, contorted into a grotesque visage of pure fury and desperation. She knew the police would be coming. With nothing left to lose, she conceived one final, desperate act of revenge, a move designed to inflict maximum pain on Julian and Bella. She made her way to the small, charming community hall where Bella and Mark's wedding was set to take place, a dark specter amidst the joyful preparations. Bella, in her wedding gown, was just about to step out for the ceremony, Lily clinging happily to her leg, when the world exploded. Serena, in a shocking display of audacious malice, burst into the hall, her eyes wild, a deranged smile playing on her lips. She lunged, snatching Lily from Bella's side with terrifying speed. "You want your precious daughter, Julian? Then come and get her. And Bella, this is what you get for thinking you could have a happy ending." The joyful atmosphere instantly shattered into a nightmare. Chaos erupted. Bella screamed, a primal sound of pure terror as Lily was ripped from her grasp. Mark lunged, but Serena, surprisingly strong in her desperation, was already retreating, holding Lily like a shield. She had an accomplice waiting outside, an undescript van idling in the alley, its engine purring menacingly. Julian, having just arrived at the venue, the DNA test results burning a hole in his pocket, witnessed the horrifying scene. The sight of Serena, the woman who had ruined his life, holding his daughter, the daughter he had just confirmed, ignited a fury he never knew he possessed. All the guilt, all the regret, all the buried love for Bella and Lily erupted. He screamed Serena's name, charging forward, a man transformed from a privileged playboy to a desperate father.
"Lily!" Bella shrieked, tears streaming down her face as she instinctively ran after Serena, oblivious to the world, her white wedding dress a tattered flag of despair. Mark, his face a mask of cold determination, was right behind her, his earlier resolve to protect Bella now encompassing Lily as well. The chase was frantic, a desperate race through the labyrinthine back alleys of the city. Serena, fueled by a mad rage, was surprisingly agile. She rendezvoused with her accomplice in the idling van. Just as she was about to shove Lily into the vehicle, a figure emerged from the shadows. Ethan Wright. He had anticipated Serena's desperate act, having followed her after leaking the information. He lunged, tackling Serena's accomplice, creating a crucial distraction. Julian, his body fueled by a surge of adrenaline, reached the van just as Serena was about to slam the door shut with Lily inside. With a desperate roar, he threw himself forward, grabbing Serena's arm, pulling Lily from her grasp. Serena fought back, scratching and biting like a rabid animal, but Julian's grip was unyielding. He held Lily tightly, shielding her from the chaos, his body a fortress. Mark arrived moments later, securing Serena and her now subdued accomplice. Sirens wailed in the distance, drawing closer. The law was finally catching up. As Julian held Lily close, her small body trembling against his gaze met Bella's. In that moment, all the past hurts, the bitter words, the months of separation melted away. There was only raw relief, profound understanding, and an unspoken apology in his eyes. Bella, seeing Lily safe in his arms, felt a wave of conflicting emotions wash over her. Relief, gratitude, and a piercing awareness of the deep connection between father and daughter. Later, in the quiet chaos of the police station, Serena, utterly defeated, revealed the full extent of her intricate plot. She didn't just want wealth, she wanted to destroy the Thorns utterly, fueled by a long-standing personal vendetta tied to her family's ruin at the hands of the Thorn patriarch decades ago, a detail she'd been carefully hiding. Her actions were not merely greedy, they were the culmination of years of simmering hatred and meticulous planning. Evelyn Hayes' small misguided attempts at sabotage were exposed as nothing more than a desperate sideshow, easily dismissed by the police, but the shame of her actions was laid bare to Mark. The Thorn family, their name now publicly disgraced, faced imminent ruin. Mr. Thorne's health was critical, and their vast fortune was melting away under the weight of lawsuits and investigations. In a shocking, humbling turn of events, Julian received a distressed call from Catherine. "Julian," her voice was weak, barely a whisper. "Your father, the company, we're losing everything. The lawyers say there's only one way, one person who might be able to help us now." The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. Julian knew exactly who she meant. He looked at Bella, his heart aching with a mixture of hope and utter humiliation. The tables had turned, dramatically and irrevocably. The once mighty Thorns now knelt at the feet of the woman they had cast out. The truth had finally been unveiled, but its revelation had opened new wounds and presented a choice that would define Bella's future.
The weight of the Thorn family's humbled plea hung in the air, a silence heavier than any storm Bella had ever endured. They stood before her in Mark's meticulously organized office, stripped of their usual arrogance, their faces etched with a desperate mix of shame and hope. Mr. Thorn, usually a monolith of unyielding pride, looked diminished, his eyes sunken, his posture a testament to a lifetime's empire crumbling. Catherine, though composed, met Bella's gaze with the silent plea, a shared understanding of motherhood bridging the vast chasm of their past. Julian, his face raw with anguish, stood slightly apart, a penitent figure. "Bella," Mr. Thorn began, his voice raspy, we were wrong. Terribly, unforgivably wrong. We let deceit blind us. Our family, it's facing ruin. Utter, complete ruin. Only Mark, with his remarkable success, can save us now. Please, Bella, for the sake of the past, for Lily's future, please intercede for us." The words, once unthinkable from their lips, now spilled forth, heavy with desperation. Bella's gaze drifted to Julian. His eyes, once arrogant and dismissive, now held a raw vulnerability, mirroring the pain she had carried for so long. She saw the ghost of the boy she had loved, trapped beneath layers of manipulation and family pressure. A wave of complex emotions washed over her. The bitter sting of past betrayal, the crushing weight of their current despair, and a quiet, unexpected empathy. She had walked through her own hell. She understood the terror of losing everything. She looked at Mark, who stood beside her, a silent, unwavering pillar of strength. His hand gently, reassuringly touched her back. He had not interfered with their plea, allowing Bella the space to navigate this treacherous emotional terrain. His presence alone was her anchor, a reminder of the true north she had found. I need time, Bella finally said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her heart. She couldn't immediately forgive, but she also couldn't condemn them to utter annihilation. Not when Lily, her innocent daughter, was a part of their lineage, however flawed. Later, in the quiet sanctuary of their apartment, Bella recounted the scene to Mark. He listened, his expression thoughtful. "This isn't about me, Bella," he said, his gaze warm and reassuring. "It's about you, about what you need to do to find peace, and what's best for Lily. My success isn't built on others' failures, but I believe in second chances, if they're earned." His words resonated deeply within her. The Thorns had paid a heavy price. Their pride had been shattered, their empire brought to its knees. Their desperate appeal was an acknowledgement, however late, of their egregious errors. Bella knew that holding on to bitterness would only poison her own newfound happiness. For Lily's sake, a clean slate, even a partial one, was essential. The following day, Bella met with the Thorn family again, this time with Mark by her side, not as a supplicant, but as an equal. The contrast between Mark's quiet dignity and the Thorns' current vulnerability was striking. Bella, with Mark's strategic advice, laid out her terms. Mark, understanding the intricacies of their financial predicament and recognizing the long-term potential of the Thorn brand if properly restructured, agreed to provide a significant investment. However, it came with stringent conditions: full transparency, a complete overhaul of their board and financial practices, and a commitment to charitable initiatives focusing on single mothers and children in need. This wasn't a handout. It was a challenging path to redemption, a chance for them to rebuild, not just their fortune, but their integrity. Julian, his face pale but resolute, met Bella's gaze. "Bella," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "I know words aren't enough. I abandoned you. I denied our daughter. There's no excusing it, but I promise you, I will spend every day of my life trying to be worthy of your forgiveness and Lily's." His sincerity, raw and unpolished, was a sharp contrast to his old manipulative charm. Bella saw a man who had finally faced his demons, stripped bare by suffering. She simply nodded, a silent acknowledgement of his newfound honesty. The road to forgiveness was long, but the first step had been taken.
Meanwhile, Evelyn Hayes, her final, pathetic attempt to sabotage the Lily rescue mission exposed, faced not legal repercussions from Mark, but the utter humiliation of her desperate actions being revealed. Mark, seeing her for the truly lost soul she was, had simply cut all ties, not with anger, but with profound disappointment. Her dreams of financial rescue through Mark vanished like smoke, leaving her to face the consequences of her own reckless choices. She eventually faded into obscurity, a bitter, cautionary tale of ambition unmoored from integrity. The wedding day arrived again, this time bathed in the soft glow of a gentle autumn sun. It was a smaller, more intimate affair, a celebration of resilience and enduring love. Bella, in a dress as simple and elegant as the woman she had become, walked down the aisle, her hand in Mark's. Lily, now fully aware of her surroundings, clapped her tiny hands in delight, perched on the lap of Catherine Thorne, who held her with genuine affection.
The Thorne family, though still navigating their arduous path to recovery, were present, their faces showing a quiet humility. Julian, from a respectful distance, watched Bella with eyes filled with a complex blend of regret, admiration, and a burgeoning sense of peace. He saw her not as the woman he had once wronged, but as a beacon of strength and grace. The vows Mark and Bella exchanged were not merely words, they were a testament to their shared journey. "Bella," Mark began, his voice husky with emotion, "you came into my life like a storm, leaving chaos in your wake, but you also brought a sunrise. You showed me strength, resilience, and a love deeper than I ever imagined. You and Lily are my world, my true north. I promise to cherish, protect, and love you both always." Bella's eyes, shimmering with tears, met his. "Mark," she whispered, "you found me in my darkest hour, when I was broken and lost. You were my shelter, my hope, my home. You saw me, truly saw me, when no one else did. You taught me to trust again, to love again. With you and with Lily, I am whole. I promise to be your partner, your confidant, and your endless love." Their kiss was a silent promise, sealing not just their union, but the triumph of hope over despair, of forgiveness over bitterness. The path forward for all of them was not without challenges. The Thornes faced a long, arduous climb back to respectability, guided by Julian's newfound integrity and Catherine's quiet determination. Julian would actively pursue building a genuine relationship with Lily, a father learning to earn the love he once rejected. Bella would eventually find her calling, perhaps through advocacy for single mothers, using her own painful journey to empower others. But standing there, bathed in the golden light of their new beginning, Bella knew she had made the right choice. Her heart, once a battleground, was now a sanctuary, filled with the warmth of Mark's unwavering love and Lily's infectious joy. She had chosen true love, stability, and a future built on genuine connection rather than the ghosts of a turbulent past. The unveiling of truth had been painful, but it had ultimately led them all to a profound, undeniable sense of redemption. Thank you for listening to The Unveiling Truth. This story reminds us that even in our darkest hours, kindness can be a guiding light, and true strength lies not just in enduring hardship, but in the courage to forgive and to choose love. It teaches us that material wealth is fleeting, but integrity and genuine connection are priceless. What lessons resonated most with you? Please share your thoughts in the comments below, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share this story with those who need to hear it. Thank you for being with us.